Good night! Merry Christmas! Thanks for coming! My wife and I called out, waving as our last party guest walked off our front porch. Amy and I have hosted a neighborhood holiday party for the past 6 Decembers. The parties started with just 4 couples and had steadily grown over the years. This year there were more than 35 attendees, and about a third of those did not live in our neighborhood. I assume the growth in attendance was largely due to increasingly heavy alcohol consumption and the silly naughty games that had become a much-anticipated event. Each year the games became a bit more risque, but never too over the top. Not quite R-rated, you could say. Like Amy and I, most of the attendees were between 25 and 35 and had a couple of kids, so we weren't exactly the wild and crazy group you might have partied with in college. Just good, hard-working young parents who needed to let their hair down for one night of the year. The neighbor ladies always brought in more food than the partiers could ever eat, and all the husbands and I made sure there was an abundance of drinks. So when a few of the neighbors started bringing some friends from outside the neighborhood, it was no big deal. Well, it was no big deal until this year. This year, without telling me, my wife invited several of her co-workers to the party. Among those she invited was Ron Stevens. Ron was her team partner on their company's outside sales force. He and Amy had worked together for the past 5 years and had grown close. Perhaps a bit too close if my suspicions were accurate. They often traveled together and attended week-long outside sales conferences twice a year. He had been the subject of some rather heated conversations just a few days before the party. Having him in my home had put a damper on my enjoyment of the evening. I helped Amy tidy up the house and took out the trash. When I came back in, she was just finishing up in the kitchen. It was time to have it out with her. So, what made you think it would be a good idea to invite Ron and your other co-workers to our neighborhood party? I asked, trying to keep my voice level. Amy replied defensively, I like those people, so I'd thought it would be fun to have them here. I think they all had fun and got along well with everyone else. What's the big deal? Really, Amy? I countered. You know how I feel about your relationship with that guy, and you invited him into my home. It's my home too, Mark, Amy shouted. I can invite anyone I wish to my party. I don't need your permission. I felt my temper rising. So, you think it is okay to embarrass me by parading your boyfriend around my house in front of your co-workers and our friends? You think I didn't see your co-workers' smirks and the raised eyebrows? What are you talking about? Amy scoffed. I've told you 50 times, Ron is not my boyfriend. No one was smirking at you. That's all just your silly jealousy, and I'm getting fed up with it. You think no one saw you sneak upstairs with him? I asked, my voice getting dangerously quiet. What were you doing, Amy? Why did you need to be upstairs alone with Mr. Wonderful? Forget you, she yelled. We didn't sneak upstairs. He needed the restroom and the downstairs bathroom was occupied. I just showed him to the guest bath. I wasn't upstairs for more than a minute or two. God, you're getting ridiculous. More lies, I shot back. You disappeared for more than 30 minutes. I know because your accomplice, Gail, was trying to keep me occupied so I wouldn't notice you had slipped off with Ron. I knew what she was doing and so I kept an eye on the clock. You're crazy, Amy retorted. Gail was probably just trying to be friendly. God knows why she'd make the effort with you. I noticed she didn't address the lie I called her on. She was a skilled negotiator, but, apparently, a less skillful liar. Amy, surprising me by inviting your boyfriend here was a low blow and the last straw. I will not put up with any more of your lies and disrespect. I turned and marched up the steps as she hurled more lies and insults. I went into our ensuite and began gathering up some of my toiletries. As I was putting my things into my toiletry bag, I dropped my deodorant. It rolled off the counter and into the trash can. I bent to retrieve it and had to fish through the trash to get it. As I did so, I caught the flash of gold foil. My heart seized and my hand froze. I took a deep breath and grabbed the foil. It was a condom wrapper. Game over. I'd had a vasectomy after our second child was born, so I did not need condoms. Now I knew everything I had suspected was true. She was cheating on me. Amy came storming up to the open bathroom door, still hurling insults and saying I was paranoid. I had my back to her and slowly turned to face her. I held the foil in front of my chest. It's not paranoia when it's true. Oh no. Amy froze. Someone must have put that there as some kind of joke. It's not what you think. I didn't do anything. Stop. Just stop with the lies, I said coldly. It's over, Amy. I'm done. No, Mark. It's not over, she pleaded. It was a mistake. It wasn't part of my plan. Yeah, I know, I replied sarcastically. You didn't plan on me finding evidence of your cheating. That was a big mistake. No, that's not what I mean. Please let me explain what happened. Her voice was desperate now. I think it's pretty obvious what happened, I said, my voice ice cold. You snuck away from the party and betrayed me with your boyfriend while I was downstairs entertaining your friends. Did that make it extra exciting for you? To betray me in my house while I was right downstairs? No, that's not how it was, Amy insisted. Please, baby, please let me explain. It's not what I planned. I stuck the foil in my pocket. Amy stumbled out of the way as I brushed past her. I went through the master bedroom and into the hallway. I could hear her scrambling to catch me as I stepped into the guest bedroom and slammed the door in her face. I punched the lock just as Amy tried the knob. Mark, please, you have to let me explain. It's not what you think. Please, Mark, please open the door. You have to talk to me. Please open the door, she begged from the other side. I was pretty sure she didn't know how to defeat the door lock, but I slid the chest of drawers in front of the door just in case. Amy pounded on the door and begged me to open up until I turned on the TV and blasted the volume. Sleep was difficult. My mind raced back over every time Amy had worked late, gone on overnight sales trips, and attended conferences. Was she betraying me at all those times? It was too painful to imagine, but it had to be true. A tear slipped down my cheek and my gut twisted when I thought about having to tell my little girls their mommy and daddy would be splitting up. How could she do this to our children? How could she be so selfish? What could have made her fall in love with another man? Was it me? Was I a bad husband? Why? Why is this happening? The questions, the doubts, the hurt, the disappointment. It was relentless. I barely slept. In what seemed like just a few minutes, the morning sun came blasting through the window, almost mocking me. I flipped the covers off and got out of bed. I had a lot to do this Sunday morning. I moved the chest of drawers and stepped out into the hall. The door to the master was standing open. I leaned into the room just enough to see Amy was still sprawled across the bed. I pulled the door shut and went to the guest bathroom to clean up. I dressed and went to the kitchen for coffee. I had just carried my cup to the table when Amy walked in. She looked awful. Her eyes were puffy, her hair a mess, her nose was still red, and I think she was hungover. But darn it, she still looked beautiful to me. My stomach clenched with another wave of pain. How could this be happening to us? Is there enough for me to have a cup? She asked timidly. Help yourself, I said as I gestured at the counter. My eyes found the coffee maker. Sitting beside the pot was her coffee cup. I had already poured the exact amount of skim milk she liked into the cup, just like I did every morning. I didn't even realize I had done that. She poured her coffee and carried it to the table and sat down across from me. Mark, I messed up, Amy started. I thought I was being so clever. I thought it would teach you a lesson, but now I know I messed it up. I was stupid. I just wanted to shock you, but it got all messed up. I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve to be treated that way. You have every right to be angry with me. Well, thanks for giving me your permission to be angry, I replied sarcastically. That's so generous of you. You invite your boyfriend to my house and then proceed to betray me, knowing the house is full of our friends and your co-workers. Gee, it's really big of you to allow me to be angry about it. No, I'm doing this all wrong, Amy insisted. Honey, please let me explain from the beginning. It's a little late to explain your plans. I and all our neighbors got to watch you put your plan into action last night. Oh my God! Amy jumped up and ran around to my chair. She tugged one side of the chair, turning me away from the table. She quickly straddled me and wrapped her arms around my neck. "Please, baby, you have to let me explain this, please. Just give me 5 minutes. Please, Mark." I had pulled my head back away from her face, away from her lips, as she tried to kiss my cheek. As she pleaded with me, tears dripped down her face. I was so angry. I almost stood up and dumped her on her cheating behind me, but I knew I could never physically hurt her. Even if she richly deserved it, I just couldn't do it. I took a deep breath and slowly blew it out. "Okay, Amy. 5 minutes. Now please get off of me." 5 minutes, and I'm not moving, she insisted. "I can't risk you getting away before I tell you everything." I brought my left wrist up and looked at my watch. She got the message. "I now know it was really stupid, but that whole thing last night was just pretend until that dumbass Ron got stupid," Amy began. I raised an eyebrow. "Okay, you have been complaining about Ron for a few months," she continued. "You repeatedly said you didn't trust him, and by implication you didn't trust me to be able to handle the jerk. Even though I told you I had no interest in him, you wouldn't believe me. It was like you think I'm this naive little teenage girl who would not be able to resist the smooth-talking salesman like I'd ever fall for his, or any guy's nonsense lines." Amy went on with her explanation, claiming Ron had tried to come on to her, but she'd always refused. She said she'd decided to teach me a lesson about my jealousy by staging a scene where I would catch her and Ron doing nothing wrong. "I knew you watched me go upstairs with Ron," she explained. "In fact, we had to wait for you to finish refilling the ice bowl so you'd be facing the stairs when we made our move. Gail was supposed to be so obvious that you'd immediately see she was our distraction while we snuck upstairs. It all worked just as I had planned." Amy continued. "I took Ron to our room and put him in my chair. I sat on the bed and waited for you to come charging into the room. After several minutes, I realized you weren't coming to rescue me or confront me. At that point, I was a little too drunk to understand how badly I had hurt you. I guess I thought you'd just given up on us, and I started to cry. Ron came to me and pulled me up into his arms and let me cry on his shoulder. After a few minutes, I realized he was rubbing my back and stroking my hair. I stopped crying and started to pull away from him, but he kissed me." According to Amy, Ron then misinterpreted her intentions, exposed himself, and pressured her. She claimed she rejected him and he retreated to the bathroom, where he must have left the condom wrapper. "Baby, I had no idea that dumb jerk would pull that stunt," she concluded. "I told Gail what he did and she ripped him a new one and made him leave with her. I can call her and she'll confirm all of this for you." I just looked at her. I very slowly stood up, holding an arm around her as I slid her off my lap. I released her, picked up my cup, and walked to the coffee maker. As I refilled my cup, she slipped up beside me. "Mark, please talk to me," Amy pleaded. "I know you're still mad about what I did, but I didn't cheat. I told you what happened. I never went along with his advances. Like most of us, he was a little drunk last night and he messed up. Kissing me and exposing himself was definitely not part of my plan. He's stupid. I don't want to cause any problems at work, but come Monday in the office, Gail and I will make sure he suffers for his stupidity." "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Can you ever forgive me?" I studied her for a moment. "So what you're saying is you staged your little sneaky trip up the stairs so I was sure to witness it. You assumed I'd be so upset that I'd then rush up to our bedroom to stop my wayward wife from betraying me on my bed. Then, when I burst into the room and found the two of you just sitting there innocently chatting, I guess you planned to laugh and ridicule me for being a jealous spouse. Let me guess. Gail was going to lead the rest of your co-workers up the stairs behind me so they could all join in laughing at your stupid paranoid husband? Maybe as a group, they would create such a scene that all the other partiers would rush to see what was happening, and then all of my friends and neighbors could join in laughing at the jealous buffoon. So that was your plan? You thought that by humiliating me in front of everyone that you'd teach me once and for all to trust you and never doubt your loyalty to me?" "Well," Amy stammered, "I just wanted to make you finally see how wrong you were about Ron. how you kept jumping to the wrong conclusions, and how much it hurt me to have you believe those things about me. I guess I thought our joke would be an effective way to show you how wrong you were. So when I didn't charge up the stairs and burst in on you two, that ruined your fun and made you so angry that you needed to punish me in another way? So you came up with a great way to teach me a lesson, to show me who's boss, to put me in my place? Amy blanched. What do you mean? What lesson? What are you talking about? You know, actually doing it, letting Ron betray me with you on my bed while I was downstairs playing host. That had to be a really delicious revenge for me spoiling your plans. Oh, good God, here we go again, Amy protested. I told you what happened. Yes, you told me a version of what happened. Not the complete version, as you left out a few details. I'm sure you and Gail spent a lot of time last night tailoring that version to include some of the truth. Just enough truth to make it believable. I have no idea what you're talking about. Look, Mark, I said I was wrong. Please, baby, let's just forget about my stupid plan and stop fighting. Oh, I don't think so, I said, and pulled a plastic baggie from my pocket. This was your revenge. This is the part of your story you couldn't tell me. This proves I can't trust anything you have told me. Amy looked at the baggie, trying to discern what was inside it. I held it up, letting it swing very slightly in my fingers. She narrowed her eyes. Then she saw it. I smiled at the shock on her face. He really is an idiot, I explained calmly. He tied it off before flushing it. The trapped air bubble kept it from going down. I got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and I found it floating in the bowl. The idiot never bothered to check to see if it got flushed. Oh my God! Amy gaped at me. Yeah, I'm guessing. When I didn't rush into your little trap, you were so angry that when Ron made his advances, you decided to teach me a lesson by actually betraying me on our bed. Then, after you betrayed me, you realized you couldn't let me know. So you shooed him out of the house and later called Gail and worked out the story you told me. I assume she's been on the phone all morning making sure your stories line up. Amy hung her head. I had the foil and the evidence. There was no way for her to spin her sanitized version of what happened. Defeated, she sighed deeply. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I lied to you. You're right. When you didn't come charging upstairs, I lost my temper and wanted to punish you. I was just drunk enough to think letting Ron have his way would teach you a lesson. I know, stupid, right? Hell, everything I did was stupid. My plan to embarrass you was stupid. Betraying you was stupid. I've really messed up everything. As she hung her head and cried, I thought about what this meant to our future. Was this the end for us? Could I get past a one-time event, born of anger and frustration that I helped fuel with my constant doubts? That gnawing feeling in my gut that something wasn't right. Many months ago, I knew something had changed. Amy had changed. But how? When did intimacy become so meaningless to her that she could use it as a symbolic punishment? I looked at her sobbing form. She had become a master manipulator. Gail must have taught her the finer art of negotiating using all of her assets. Gail, her mentor. The woman who had consistently outsold all of her male competitors. Gail, the now aging sales manager, had taken young Amy under her wing. Gail, the notoriously flirty divorcee, had shown Amy how to win all her negotiations with her male clients. How could I have been so blind? I had been so proud of her for suddenly jumping into the lead sales position. Over the last few years, she had received many awards and bonuses. Gail was her biggest cheerleader. The bonuses had made it possible for us to start college funds for our kids and pay off all our bills, but at what cost? Time for some answers. I slowly began to clap my hands. Bravo! Bravo! That was quite a performance. Such quick thinking. Gail has trained you well. It took you no time to see you had lost the Ron skirmish, so you gave me this weeping apology, hoping I'd focus on your single mistake. A mistake you made in the heat of the moment and while slightly drunk. A mistake that you're pretty certain you could convince your children's father to forgive, for their sake. I have to admit, That is a pretty good strategy. You know I'm hopelessly devoted to my girls and would do anything for them. So you're counting on me to be willing to sacrifice my outrage at your mistake to avoid causing my innocent children any heartache? And why wouldn't I? I mean, you have now admitted your cruel plan to teach me a lesson by humiliating me, and you have confessed the mistake you made in drunken frustration when I foiled your plan. You have taken the blame for it all and have begged for my forgiveness. My goodness, what more could you do? The tears had stopped. Amy was frozen in place, studying my face, trying to read my unspoken thoughts. She didn't say a word. I could practically see her mind racing to figure out where this was headed and how she could regain control of the situation. Amy, I believe what you've told me about Ron and what happened last night. I am sorry I suspected you of having an affair with him. I'm now convinced that last night was your only encounter with Ron. Yes, baby. It was the only time, I swear, Amy exclaimed in relief. It was a stupid mistake, and I promise I will never have any contact with that jerk ever again. Please, honey, can we just put this all behind us? I love you so much, please, baby, please. Even if I said I was willing to give you a pass on trying to humiliate me and betraying me in our marital bed, there is still the issue of all the others. What? What do you mean, what others? Amy asked, suddenly looking panicked. I have to admit, it's taken me way too long to see it. Once I got to know Gail and heard all the rumors about her, I should have seen it, but I trusted you. Then later, when my gut kept telling me something was off, I thought it was Ron. I was wrong about Ron, but I had every reason to be concerned about you, didn't I? Concerned? What do you mean concerned? I don't know what you're talking about, Amy answered. I heaved a weary sigh and sat back in my chair, shaking my head. I was so very tired of the deceit, the half-truths, the misdirections. I had no actual proof of what she had done, but I knew. Deep in my soul, I knew I had lost her several months ago. My sweet love, the woman I'd hoped to spend the rest of my life loving, was gone. There is no doubt Gail had shown her the path to riches and rewards, but Amy chose to walk that path. She willingly chose to ignore her vows. And for what? Her ego? A few extra dollars? Cheap thrills? It doesn't matter why she did it. Amy, I know what you've been doing. I know how you close so many sales. I can't begin to tell you how much it hurts me to know what you've become. The shock on her face was all the confirmation I needed. It was brief, but I saw it before she could regain her composure and smile at me. Mark, honey, I thought we were done with this nonsense. I admitted to my one-time mistake with Ron, but I have no idea what you're talking about now. I don't know what you think you know, but I just want to stop all this crazy talk and get on with our lives. Now, we have to get cleaned up and go get your daughters. I know they love your parents, but I'm sure they miss their daddy. So that's exactly what we did. I spent the rest of the day loving up on my girls and thinking through my options. But now I had a plan forming in my mind. A plan for justice. On Monday, I went to work as usual, but I had already set things in motion. I had contacted a private investigator the night before, explaining my suspicions about Amy's unethical sales tactics. I also reached out to 3 of Amy's biggest competitors and anonymously tipped them off about how her sales team might be securing their deals. I called a lawyer who specialized in corporate ethics cases, who agreed to take my case on contingency if we found evidence. I also made an appointment with our family lawyer regarding custody arrangements, just in case. Over the next 2 weeks, the private investigator compiled a damning dossier. Not only had Amy been using unethical tactics to secure sales, but Gail had been orchestrating the whole operation, taking a cut of every bonus Amy earned. What's more, they had been falsifying expense reports, double billing clients, and manipulating contract terms after signatures were obtained. Rather than confronting Amy directly, I waited patiently. The investigation results were anonymously sent to the company's board of directors, the ethics committee, and several journalists who covered business ethics stories. I made sure the evidence was irrefutable. 3 weeks after the Christmas party, Amy came home looking shell-shocked. "Mark," she said, her voice trembling, "I've been suspended pending an investigation. Someone sent evidence to the board that I've been using inappropriate methods to secure deals. They're saying Gail has been teaching all the female sales staff to do this. They're talking about criminal charges, Mark. I could lose everything." I looked at her with practiced sympathy. "That's terrible, Amy. Who would do such a thing?" The next day, Amy was officially terminated. The company issued a public statement about its zero-tolerance policy for unethical business practices. 2 business journals ran exposés on Gail's sales techniques without naming specific salespeople. Amy's reputation in the industry was effectively destroyed. When she received the termination letter, she broke down. "How am I going to support myself? Who's going to hire me now?" she sobbed. "I'll always make sure the girls are taken care of," I assured her. "And you might want to speak to a lawyer about your options." The final blow came when I had her served with divorce papers at her parents' house, where she'd been staying since the scandal broke. I cited irreconcilable differences and requested primary custody of our daughters, with generous visitation rights for Amy. The evidence of her professional misconduct, combined with the affair with Ron, which I had documented, left her with little leverage in the divorce proceedings. Her lawyer advised her to accept my terms rather than risk the case going to trial where more details might become public. 6 months after the Christmas party, our divorce was finalized. I kept the house and primary custody of our daughters. Amy moved into a modest apartment and had to start her career over in retail sales. Gail faced criminal charges for fraud and was sentenced to probation and community service. Amy never knew it was me who orchestrated her professional downfall. She assumed it was a rival company or a disgruntled client. 1 year after the divorce, I was having dinner with our daughters at a restaurant when I saw Amy working as a sales clerk at a neighboring store. Our eyes met briefly, and I saw regret and shame in hers. I nodded politely and turned back to our girls. Later that evening, I received a text from Amy. "I know it was you. I don't know how you did it, but I know. You were right about everything. I'm sorry I threw away what we had. Please take good care of our girls." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Justice had been served in the most fitting way possible. Amy lost everything she valued most: her status, her career, and her family. Not through violence or public humiliation, but through the natural consequences of her own choices coming to light. As for me, I've rebuilt my life. I'm dating again, cautiously. My daughters are happy and well-adjusted, and Amy sees them regularly. I've learned to trust my instincts and to value honesty above all else. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about getting free. That Christmas party changed everything for us. But in the end, I found something better than revenge. I found peace. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.